The past is a shadow, an intangible outline cast by the light of your awareness. It holds no substance of its own, no permanence or solidity. It is merely a reflection of what once was. Just as a shadow depends entirely on the position of the light and the object it falls upon, the past exists only in relation to your perception and memory. Shadows can appear elongated, distorted, or fleeting, much like how memories shift and change depending on how we choose to view them. We often mistake the shadow for the thing itself, as though the mere presence of its outline defines the reality of what once happened. But a shadow is not the object, it is not the source. It cannot harm you, nor can it provide shelter. It moves with you, yet it is never truly part of you. To dwell on it is to chase something that will always elude your grasp, an image that dissolves the moment you confront it directly. Though the shadow of the past may linger, it cannot affect the present unless you choose to give it weight and substance. It is not alive, though it can appear vivid and real when illuminated by the intensity of your focus. Like all shadows, it grows faint when the light of your attention turns fully to the present. You are not your history. You are not the collection of stories, labels, and events that have unfolded in the timeline of your life. Your history is a narrative, a sequence of moments stitched together by memory, interpretation, and perspective. But it does not define the essence of who you are. History is like the footprints you leave behind in the sand, evidence of where you have been, but not a reflection of the being who walked the path. The mind often clings to history as though it were a mirror, reflecting the core of your identity. It says, this is who you are because this is what has happened to you, but is that true? Are you the sum of your achievements, failures, traumas, and triumphs? Or are you something more expansive, something that cannot be confined to the boundaries of past events? Your history is a container of experiences, but it is not the experiencer. It is the record of decisions and consequences, but it is not the awareness that made those choices. You are the presence that exists here and now, the conscious force capable of change, growth, and reinvention. History may explain how you arrived at this moment, but it cannot dictate who you are in it. To identify with your history is to limit yourself to a fixed identity, as though your essence were a book already written, its pages closed and unchangeable. But you are not a finished story. You are the author holding the pen, free to create new chapters at any time. The events of the past, no matter how significant, are merely echoes they can influence, but they cannot imprison. Memory is a story, a narrative constructed by the mind to make sense of the past. It is not a perfect recording of events, but a selective and subjective interpretation shaped by emotions, beliefs, and the passage of time. Like a storyteller embellishing details for dramatic effect, the mind weaves fragments of experience into a cohesive tale, often filling in gaps or altering facts to align with its current perspective. This story, while vivid, is not the past itself. It is a representation, an internal recreation of something that can never be fully reclaimed. The memory rearranges moments, amplifies certain emotions, and fades others into obscurity, crafting a version of the past that may bear little resemblance to what actually occurred. It is not static, it evolves, reshaping itself with every retelling, influenced by the lens through which you now view the world. Memories are powerful because they give meaning to experience, but they are also deceiving. They hold the ability to transport you, to evoke feelings as strong as those in the present moment, yet they remain intangible. A memory is not a fact, it is a perspective, a piece of mental art created to make sense of the chaos and fluidity of life. This storytelling nature of memory is why different people can recall the same event in radically different ways, each narrative shaped by the unique emotional and cognitive filters of the storyteller. Like all stories, memory is as much about the narrator as it is about the content. It reflects your current identity, values, and understanding, often telling you more about who you are now than who you were then. The trap of clinging lies in the illusion that holding on to the past gives you control over it. The mind convinces itself that by replaying old memories, revisiting past mistakes or reliving moments of pain or joy, it can somehow change what has already happened or preserve what has already passed. But clinging is a futile act, like gripping sand tighter only to watch it slip more quickly through your fingers. This attachment creates a loop, a cycle in which you become trapped, constantly revisiting what cannot be undone or relived. It anchors your energy and attention in a time that no longer exists, leaving little room for the fullness of the present moment. The more you cling, the more you reinforce the weight of what you are trying to hold on to, turning it into an emotional burden that shapes your thoughts, actions, and sense of self. Clinging to the past also narrows your perspective, keeping you tethered to a single story or identity. It blinds you to new possibilities, to the fluid and ever-changing nature of life. It tells you that what was is all there is, chaining you to regrets over what might have been or nostalgia for what can never return. In this trap, you mistake the familiar discomfort of the past for security, fearing that letting go might leave you adrift or undefined. The trap feeds on fear of loss, fear of change, fear of the unknown. It convinces you that by holding on, you are preserving something valuable, when in reality you are keeping yourself from experiencing the freedom and potential that lie beyond the grip of attachment. The illusion of control is the belief that by holding tightly to the past, you can somehow reshape its meaning or influence its outcomes. It is the mind's attempt to impose order on the uncontrollable, to rewrite the story of what has already unfolded, as though reflection alone could alter reality. This illusion thrives on the idea that if you analyze regret or obsess enough, you might find a way to undo the unchangeable or prevent its recurrence. But control over the past is a mirage, a projection of the mind's desire to feel secure in a world where uncertainty is the only constant. It is a futile effort to grasp what has already slipped beyond your reach, an attempt to anchor yourself in a place that no longer exists. This illusion binds you to the past, not because it offers power, but because it preys on the fear of powerlessness. The need for control stems from a misunderstanding of life's nature. Life is fluid, unpredictable, and ever-moving, yet the mind seeks to fix it in place, to categorize and constrain it within a framework of logic and predictability. When applied to the past, this need for control manifests as rumination, replaying events, imagining alternative outcomes, or constructing narratives to justify or explain what happened. The growth lies in liberation, in the freeing of oneself from the constraints of past beliefs, limitations, and attachments. True growth is not found in the accumulation of more knowledge or accomplishments, but in the release of what no longer serves your evolving nature. It is not the expansion of what you already are, but the unburdening of who you were, so that a new, more expansive version of yourself can emerge. When you are bound by past experiences, fears, or the expectations of others, your potential for growth is stifled. These attachments create walls around you, limiting your perception of what is possible. The act of liberation, whether through forgiveness, letting go of old identities, or abandoning rigid ideas, removes these walls, allowing the full expression of your being. Without this release, growth becomes an effort to push against what holds you back, rather than an organic unfolding of your true nature. Liberation is not just the freedom from external restrictions, but also from internal barriers. These mental and emotional prisons can take many forms: guilt, shame, doubt, or the need for approval, but they all limit your ability to experience the fullness of life. By releasing these constraints, you open yourself to new possibilities, new perspectives, and new ways of being. Growth, in this sense, is not a linear progression. It is a continual process of shedding old skins, of discarding beliefs and attachments that no longer align with your authentic self. Every moment of liberation is an invitation to become more, to step more fully into the person you are becoming. And this process is not one of striving or achieving, but one of allowing and surrendering. The more you free yourself, the more you make space for your own growth to unfold. Gratitude, not attachment, is the key to living fully in the present, for attachment binds you to a version of the past, while gratitude opens you to the richness of the moment. Attachment comes from the desire to hold on to what we have, to what we know, or to what we fear losing. It is the act of clinging to people, experiences, or things in a way that limits the flow of life, creating a sense of scarcity and loss. Attachment is rooted in the belief that we need to possess or control in order to find happiness, which leads to a constant cycle of craving and fear. Gratitude, on the other hand, is a recognition of what is without the need to possess or control. It is a practice of seeing the value in every moment, appreciating what is given, whether it is fleeting or lasting. Gratitude shifts the focus from what we lack to what we have, from the fear of losing to the joy of experiencing. In this shift, we realize that nothing in life is permanent, and that this impermanence is not something to be feared, but something to be embraced. Gratitude allows us to honor what we have without holding it tightly, to experience each moment fully without the need to make it last forever. It is the recognition that every experience, no matter how brief, is valuable in its own right, and that attachment only serves to narrow our perception of its true significance. Through gratitude, we learn to let go of the need to control outcomes, to release the expectations that tether us to a particular version of reality, and to trust that life is already unfolding as it should. In this way, gratitude becomes a tool for liberation, freeing us from the weight of attachment and allowing us to move through life with an open heart and an open mind. It is the understanding that the true richness of life does not lie in ownership or possession, but in the ability to fully appreciate and experience what comes, knowing that the nature of life itself is to change and evolve. Fear of the unknown is a natural response to the uncertainties of life, a deep-seated instinct that arises when we are confronted with situations outside our control or understanding. It is rooted in the mind's need for predictability, security, and order. When faced with the unfamiliar, the mind seeks to categorize, analyze, and make sense of what lies ahead. But the unknown resists being boxed into categories. It flows, shifts, and eludes our attempts to control it. The fear arises not from the unknown itself, but from the mind's resistance to surrendering its need for certainty. This fear often manifests as anxiety, worry, or hesitation. It compels us to cling to the known, to seek comfort in repetition and routine, even when those familiar things no longer serve us or allow us to grow. The unknown seems threatening because it presents a space where our plans, desires, and expectations are not guaranteed. It is the uncharted territory that challenges the limits of our comfort zone, and the mind reacts by projecting worst-case scenarios, magnifying the potential dangers that lie ahead. But the unknown is not inherently dangerous. It is simply uncharted. It is a space of infinite possibility, where creativity, transformation, and new experiences reside. Fear of the unknown keeps us from exploring these possibilities because it binds us to the past and to the familiar. The mind, seeking safety, clings to the known and judges the unknown through the lens of past experiences, distorting it into something fearful and threatening. In truth, the unknown is the canvas upon which life paints its new stories. It is where potential exists in its purest form, free from the constraints of the past or the limitations of the present. To face the unknown with fear is to deny the richness of life's unfolding, to resist the growth that comes from stepping into the unfamiliar. The fear of the unknown keeps us stuck in a loop of repetition, where growth is stunted and change is avoided. Surrender and trust are the twin forces that allow us to flow with the current of life rather than resist it. Surrender is not defeat or resignation. It is the conscious letting go of the need to control every aspect of life. It is the recognition that there are forces greater than our individual will, and that life, in its vastness and complexity, unfolds according to its own rhythms. To surrender is to release the constant need to manipulate, to force outcomes, or to control the future, and instead allow things to unfold as they will. Trust, in this context, is the belief that life will provide what is needed in each moment, even if we cannot see how it will all fit together. It is the understanding that the flow of life, though unpredictable, is always moving toward balance, growth, and evolution. And trusting life means recognizing that not everything can be planned, nor should it be. It means embracing the unknown, having faith that the universe or the natural course of things will offer what is required, even when it feels uncertain or uncomfortable. Surrender and trust are closely intertwined. To surrender is to trust that everything is as it should be, that the present moment holds its own wisdom. When we resist, we reject the flow of life, and in doing so, we create unnecessary friction. Surrendering is an act of aligning ourselves with that flow, accepting what comes without judgment or fear. Trust is the faith that awareness over rumination is the practice of cultivating presence, of anchoring yourself in the current moment rather than getting lost in the endless cycle of overthinking. Rumination is the mental habit of replaying past events, analyzing them from every angle, and imagining endless what-if scenarios. It traps you in a loop where thoughts circle endlessly, reinforcing emotions of guilt, regret, or anxiety, often with no resolution. This cycle can drain your energy, distort your perception, and prevent you from fully engaging with life as it unfolds. In contrast, awareness is the act of observing your thoughts and emotions without getting entangled in them. It is the recognition that thoughts are temporary, fleeting experiences that come and go like clouds passing across the sky. By developing awareness, you step outside the content of your thoughts and observe them from a place of detachment, recognizing that they do not define you. You learn to watch the mind without becoming lost in it. Awareness invites you to shift your attention to what is happening right now, how you feel, what you see, hear, and experience in the present moment. Rather than dwelling on past mistakes or worrying about future uncertainties, you begin to appreciate the richness of the present, where peace and clarity reside. Awareness allows you to break free from the grip of rumination and re-establish a sense of balance. By practicing awareness, you create space between stimulus and response. Instead of reacting impulsively to a thought or emotion, you allow yourself the time to pause, reflect, and choose how to respond. This conscious presence empowers you to break the patterns of overthinking and focus on what truly matters, leading to more grounded decisions and a deeper sense of inner peace. When you prioritize awareness over rumination, you reclaim your mental clarity and emotional stability. You stop identifying with the stories your mind creates and begin to see them for what they truly are: temporary constructs, not permanent truths. Awareness helps you let go of the need to control or make sense of everything, and instead simply be with what is, free from judgment or obsession. Create, don't recreate, is a call to move forward with originality and authenticity, rather than staying trapped in the past or endlessly imitating what has already been done. To recreate is to repeat, to attempt to recreate something that already exists, to mold yourself into a version of what you think you should be, or what others expect you to be. Recreating is rooted in imitation, in the belief that the past holds the answers, and that there is safety in mimicking what has worked before. It keeps you stuck in the confines of old patterns, afraid to step out of what is known and take risks. Creating, however, comes from the depths of the present moment. It is the act of bringing something new into existence, of expressing yourself in ways that are true to who you are, rather than trying to fit yourself into the shape of something that has already been. When you create, you honor the uniqueness of the present moment, and in doing so, you allow life to flow through you rather than being confined by the limits of what has already been. Creation is about possibility, about stepping into the unknown with confidence and curiosity, knowing that what you bring forth doesn't need to be perfect or defined by external standards. It is the expression of your own experiences, insights, and vision, uncensored by the fear of failure or comparison. In creating, you release the attachment to outcomes, understanding that the process itself is what nourishes you and allows you to grow. To create is to be alive, to tap into the vast potential within you and channel it into something tangible. Recreating, on the other hand, is a form of stagnation, where energy is spent in efforts to preserve what has already been, instead of venturing into the expansive terrain of possibility. When you create, you give yourself permission to evolve, to explore new ideas, and to express yourself in ways that have never been done before. The art of being here is the practice of fully inhabiting the present moment, without distraction or longing for something else. It is about giving your complete attention to what is unfolding in the now, without getting lost in thoughts of the past or worries about the future. To be here is to recognize that the present moment is all you truly have, and that it is rich with possibility, with all the sensations, emotions, and experiences that make up life. The art lies in releasing the urge to escape, to rush, or to resist, and instead to allow yourself to fully experience what is happening right now. Being here is a conscious act of awareness. It means stepping out of the habitual patterns of mind that pull you away from the present, those automatic responses that keep you preoccupied with what has been or what might be. To be here requires that you acknowledge the distractions, the racing thoughts, the constant need for stimulation, and choose to let them pass by without attachment. It is a choice to center yourself, to ground your awareness in the sights, sounds, and sensations that are available to you right now. The art of being here also involves acceptance, of surrendering to what is without judgment or resistance. It is the recognition that the present moment, however imperfect or fleeting, is exactly as it should be. There is no need to change it, fix it, or force it into a different shape. In being here, you stop trying to control and instead open yourself to what life is offering in this very instant. In this space of presence, you are free from the constraints of time, from the pressures of achievement or obligation. You are simply here, breathing, existing, and experiencing the flow of life as it unfolds. The art is in the simplicity of being, in letting go of the need for more, and allowing yourself to experience the richness of the moment, just as it is. In life, we are constantly pulled between the past and the future, often losing sight of the power and freedom that reside in the present. To truly live, we must let go of attachment, embrace the fluidity of existence, and release the illusion of control. Through awareness and gratitude, we shift from the prison of rumination to the freedom of creation. Forgiveness frees us from the weight of the past, and trust allows us to step into the unknown with courage. The art of being here is the practice of surrendering to the moment, finding peace and growth in each fleeting instant. It is through liberation, not attachment, that we find our true power.